Welcome to the Week in Italian Startup, where we discuss the latest highlights happening in the Italian tech and investment ecosystem. All right, welcome everyone. This is the Week in Italian Startups. It's live on Clubhouse and we're available on Spotify and Apple Podcast. We discuss the weekly news from the Italian startup ecosystem. All right, so Nico, without further ado, let's jump in. It's been a fairly quiet week, as we were saying. There are a few interesting movements, but not as extreme as we've seen maybe in other scenarios. So that's what it is.
Yeah, so maybe it is preparing for a more important Q4. But
yep.
This week it was really quiet.
Very quiet, yeah.
So let's go.
Yeah, let's start. So let's start with some corporate venture capital sort of operation, especially from bank. So Credem Bank essentially have a corporate VC arm which is actively investing. And one of the very interesting deals that they've closed is Noonum, which is a Seattle-based fintech company working on AI for banking and investment analysis. This is very interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting that they went up into Seattle to make the first investment, because this is the first real investment that they complete with the corporate VC fund, which they announced in April. And the product is interesting because from the description from the website of Noonum, it is an AI startup basically trying to extract complex information from relationships, from knowledge about companies to guide investors in making more thorough decisions when deploying capital. So
it seems really to cover a lot of what is happening also in the sort of investment decision making related to AI. So we have some data, we have some big data, we have some AI, plus we have some NLP, some natural language processing. So it looks like they've been doing like a customized project for different companies, and they've been applying probably like their knowledge of the different fintech sector and data extraction and manipulation tools to actually solve relevant problem for investors. So that's I thought that was very, very, very interesting. Definitely a very strong trend, which is on the rise for sure.
Yeah, I have to say that this is probably, there's a strong influence in all this new strategy by Credem coming from the chief innovation officer, who is Giorgio Grossi. Cool. And he has a background in Ducati, he has a background in, I believe, also Formula One. So he was very strong on data. Nice. And this new idea about this new project, this new program about investing in startups, setting up a corporate VC arm, is probably due to his addition to the group a couple of years back. So
beautiful.
And he's very attentive, sensible to the data part of the business. So I expect to see more deals like this one coming from Credem.
Beautiful. Moving on, we have a 3D printing company, which is actually developing not only 3D printing technology, but also different sort of new tech, especially for industries. So 3DNextech, essentially, they've developed this quick prototyping product, which is called a 3D finisher, able to develop like very precise, smooth, and very sort of well crafted prototypes. And they have received an investment from CDP Venture Capital directly. Like 750K. Awesome.
Yes. This is again, I believe, from the relaunch fund by CDP. Okay. I know the founders of 3DNextech, so the product is quite interesting since the finisher, the first product, is addresses a problem with additive manufacturing, in particular the smaller machines, the smaller part, where the final product is very rough on the surface, and it's more difficult to use in certain more advanced prototyping uses, or even finished products. And with their technology, they are able to, as you said, make the surface of the item very smooth without changing the geometry or the properties of the object, actually improving them.
Awesome, that's fantastic. Right. Let's talk about YAG completing a raise, actually co-investing with Doorway, which is a crowdfunding Italian platform, on a Swiss startup which is actually planning to expand in Italy, and it's called, that startup is Sonect. Very, very interesting concept here. Have you seen the video about this? This is like a very cool deal, a very cool concept. Actually, I've never heard of this. This new way of
watch the video.
So basically, it's as you know, it's basically a different way to withdraw money. So they're basically trying to disrupt ATM machine. And what happens is that all the commercial businesses like bars, cafe, news agents, etc., that are part of the program, they are on a map so that people can connect and ask for withdrawing money in those different locations. So you can actually, book €100 at your favorite cafe, go there, get the money from them, and at the same time maybe enjoy a coffee or something like that. And they're like making it very much available on a lot of different businesses.
Yeah, and the merchant gets credited from the user bank account directly.
Yes,
I imagine. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, it's an easy way to avoid bringing your cash at the end of the day to the bank.
Yeah. And also ATMs. Sometimes ATM is like a pain because it's either high commission because it's not your bank, or it's tough to find and you need to go like around the town to get to an ATM. This is a very interesting way to solve the problem. I don't know if there are probably there will be probably like some regulation and some regulatory implication to that, but that's definitely a very smart way to think about withdrawing money. Never even thought about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder whether they also have connections in knowing the amount of cash that a single merchant has in the shop, in order to be able to program and drive the user exactly to the shops that are available, that have cash available. Say so.
Yeah.
Well, okay, interesting.
Cool. All right, moving on. Let's talk about the M&A of Atida acquiring ePharma. ePharma, I didn't know about them. It's a very actually is very popular online pharmacy, which is essentially one of the first actually selling online medication, non-prescription medication in Italy. And they've been acquired by Atida, and Atida is one of the big players in the online pharmaceutical space. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So as you know, in Italy, if you don't have a physical pharmacy, you cannot sell online unless you are specifically authorized by the Ministry of Health. And according to the website, ePharma was the first, as you said, online only pharmacy which was authorized to sell non-prescription drugs. And I believe I read somewhere that they reached around 20 million euros in revenues last year. So it's quite sizable.
I think, wow. Okay, I didn't know Atida. I was checking their website with extra information. And they seem like very well positioned in Europe in general. So that's pretty awesome.
Atida is a big group, yes. But ePharma alone was a double-digit million euros revenues.
Okay, I see. Yeah.
So quite a big one.
Very cool.
Well, an interesting operation. The pharmacy market is consolidating a lot. I mean, in Italy, there are many pharmacies, and historically, with a single owner, solo shop, solo owner. And only recently we've seen aggregation and consolidation with Lloyd's pharmacies entering the market and other groups consolidating on the market. So there is nothing new if you look at it from the broader market point of view, but it's interesting by Atida, which is a more diversified type of digitalized company. So we'll see.
Interesting. All right, moving on. Claudia Pingue, which used to run the PolyHub, so the Polytechnic of Milano Innovation Hub, is essentially now head of one of the, I would say fund manager of the CDP Venture Capital Technology Transfer Fund. And you mentioned that, it's a really cool interview actually that you were reporting. And she was explaining exactly how they've been working also together with the European Investment Fund to actually allocate even more money to the ecosystem, basically bridging the gap, the eternal gap between European universities and business, which has been going on for a long time.
There's a good basket of money going in that direction, much stronger than the original. It's a tech platform that we talked about quite a few times, and with at least a national driver at the helm. So Claudia is driving this program, and it's quite clear where she wants to go, which was not as clear with the original Intertech. So there is more continuation and more, a longer view emerging from the interview. Unfortunately, it is in Italian. So we need to convince our press and journalists to make more English interviews.
Very interesting. It's good in terms of what they're trying to accomplish and really pushing, and also co-investing with investment firms actually. So they're not just investing directly in technology transfer, but they also financing some of the funds that we talked about, like a Eureka fund, and probably they're going to do some other operation as well.
Well, but it makes sense if you want to finance technology so early in the research or the development phase. You probably have to be able to have a broader reach. So it makes sense to enable more operators to operate on the market.
Yeah.
And also the aggregators of technology transfer. The robotic one is the first one that announced, and there are probably more being planned. That's another very interesting strategy.
Awesome. Right, moving on. Azimut is on the rise to actually making sure that they're really well placed in a lot of different early stage situation. And they have been announcing the launch of a fund focused on Middle East and Northern Africa, which is also a very trendy way to invest right now. I've seen people working in Northern Africa, and basically they've been trying to push all the ecosystems that are developing right now in Egypt, Morocco, and of course Eastern, Middle East in particular. So that's a very on point sort of strategy, I would say.
Okay, I'm not following that region, so you are telling me for the first time this trend, but I can see it coming. I mean, I don't know about not Africa specifically, but Africa is a huge continent with a lot of room to grow, resources, younger population. So
exactly.
We can expect a lot of things to come out from Africa in the next few years.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, Azimut is being very well positioned in terms of how they're investing. Like we were discussing, they have a bunch of different VC funds. So the Ali Crowd, which is done in collaboration with the Mama Crowd, the Digitech Fund, which is I think it's done in collaboration with P101, Italia 500, which also is a retail. It's the other way. Okay.
Italia
500. Awesome.
Yes, with
yeah.
P101 and
P101
Fund is the one. The Digitech Fund is the one investing with Gellify.
Okay. Perfect. And so that will be like their fifth one. So they have 4 active right now, plus 1 which is Nasdaq oriented. So it's technology, more broadly speaking, and not necessarily seed or early stage. But they're definitely, they're definitely like having a very, very capillary strategy. So they're not really active only in private equity in general, but also some of the major, but definitely like venture capital firms that are active in Italy, I would say.
Well, yes, if you think about it, Azimut is an asset manager. It has a very broad clientele from pure retail to professional, passing through private banking, so private customers, so upper how do you call it?
So like more professional investor, wealth managers,
just wealthier private people, wealthier customers, and so on and so forth. So I'm pretty sure that these people have appetite for diversified type of investments, and offering venture capital as a product. Well, that's quite diversified in a sense. So I can see them creating more products that they can place to their customer base.
Awesome.
Otherwise, we would have a lot of wealthier individuals who would have no access to this type of financial instruments. So
I agree.
And they're going to pay handsome fees to get there.
Yeah. I mean, Azimut is, as we were saying, like not the cheapest one compared to other US or European funds, but that's a discussion for another time, where we dive deep into like the fund structure of what is happening in Italy. That's definitely something we should talk about.
It is a matter of access. If you can get into one product, you will be happy to get into another one, no matter the price.
Exactly. Very cool. All
right.
Supply
and demand.
Supply and demand, and marketing. A little bit of marketing too.
A little bit of marketing.
So one last information, and then we can close. It's the data center that you were mentioning. So a big real estate SGR called Castello. You mentioned sold a fairly big lot around Milan for a development for a data center. So that's an insight.
Yeah, I'm just realizing that actually there was a link related to the news, and I forgot to add the link here. So I'll have to follow up the next week with the link. But basically, the news is that Castello sold this greenfield located in close to Melegnano, in the southern part of Milan, to an unspecified American buyer, a data center provider. And this customer planned to build a 60,000 square meters data center in the area, which appears to be one of the biggest in Europe. And
wow, that's awesome.
I found that quite interesting.
Awesome. Definitely to keep an eye on to who exactly is the buyer and what's going to happen over there. That's really a good pointer.
But this is public news here. This is not an insider news, just public. But I forgot the link.
But you pointed out. I missed that, so thanks for that. That's definitely like hyper helpful. All right, Nico, thank you so much for again for this week. Great insight, great news. And thank you very much for joining on Clubhouse. As I was saying, we are live every week on Mondays at 6:30 on Clubhouse, and you can catch all the other issues of the Week in Italian Startup on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, and YouTube. So with that, thank you so much, Nico. I appreciate it, and I'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks. Bye.